What's up? It's Ben from WODprep, and in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 unconventional ways that you can prepare for the CrossFit Open. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about a few movements that WODprep predicts might be, and a lot of other people are predicting it, let's be clear, new movements that might be in the CrossFit Open coming in 2024. And we're going to cover a couple of those movements, and then I'm also going to talk about a couple unconventional ways to train that you don't normally see in traditional CrossFit style programming except for in the Open. So all that and more coming up in this video. And if you want to be the most prepared possible for the CrossFit Open, I have some training at the end of this video that I'll talk to you about. But let's start by talking about a few movements that potentially could show up in the CrossFit Open. We'll start with number 1. This is probably the most predicted one that they think might show up. And when I say they, this is a lot of people who try to predict things, like WODprep. I would say that the single crossover, so the jump rope where we're doing single unders, but we're doing crossovers at the same time, I think there's a pretty high potential we might see that in the CrossFit Open. I don't think we'll see it for an entire workout. I think it could potentially be added on after single unders or double unders. It could be the back end of a workout, or we might just see crossovers featured. And as a review, the single crossover is where I'm doing a single under and I cross my hands. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that is a single crossover. Just a quick tip on that, because that's what we do, is give tips here at WODprep. I would really focus when you're practicing those. The reason I trip a lot of times is because I don't commit fully to the cross. And I'll kind of bring my hands here, okay, which isn't wide enough. If you really force your hands to come across your body, then usually that rope has enough space to spin around your body, and then you come back out for the next rep. So really try to reach across as you're doing that crossover. And I would practice by simply doing a lot of single unders and then just try to do one. Okay, it's at the same cadence. See if you can get one done. And then once you get one, then you try to stack on crisscrossing back and forth. So crossover single unders definitely could show up in the Open. The next movement is devil's press. This is a movement that was actually created by street parking. So maybe they won't call it a devil's press, but it's a really hard movement. It's essentially a burpee into a double arm, dual dumbbell snatch. Here's what it looks like. I come down, I touch my chest to the ground, stand up, and then weight goes overhead, okay? I could definitely see those showing up simply because they're a very challenging movement. Who knows what they'll call it? They might call it devil's press. They might make up their own name for it, but essentially it's a burpee into a double kettlebell snatch overhead, where the standard is you have to touch your chest to the dumbbells or maybe even the ground. And then in one fluid motion, you need to get the weight overhead. CrossFit might take it to where it's just basically dumbbell burpee ground to overhead, which essentially could be you do your burpee, and if you want, you can do this, okay, which would be like a more scaled down approach. Or if you're strong enough, you can do this, okay, straight up in the double dumbbell snatch. A third movement that lots of people are predicting, I think this one might be more of a far off chance simply because it's very difficult. That is the pullover. We saw them released in the CrossFit Games. It's where you're swinging like this over the bar. If they did show up in the CrossFit Open, again, I think they would come at the end of a workout. Maybe a workout that has something like chest to bar pull-ups in the first couple rounds, then bar muscle-ups in the next couple rounds, and then pullovers in the final rounds. So the only way to get to pullovers would be to get through the other more challenging gymnastic movements. This is all hypothetical, but that's my prediction. That's our prediction here at WODprep, is that if pullovers show up, they're probably going to be towards the end in the most difficult rounds of a given open workout. So I would be practicing these 3 movements, especially the single crossovers, very important because I think there's a decent chance they're going to show up. Next is just being proficient at those awful things called devil's presses. And then if you are good at gymnastics, if you can do chest to bar pull-ups fine, you can do bar muscle-ups fine, then I would definitely try to add pullovers to your arsenal, especially if you can practice unbroken pullovers, We have a pullover video about me learning my first ones live on camera. And then we also have a secondary video on YouTube about how to do unbroken pullover. So make sure you go check those out, and we'll be sure to include the link in the description below. Do you want to learn CrossFit skills like kipping pull-ups, or maybe even something like this, toes to bar, or butterfly pull-ups, or kipping pull-ups, or maybe even, if you're lucky, bar muscle-ups? Then come join WODprep Academy. Inside of WODprep Academy, we have over 25 training courses that teach you how to learn each and every CrossFit skill. Altogether, the total value, if you bought every single skill course individually, would be well over $5,000. But you can join WODprep Academy today for a fraction of that. And the best part is it comes with a money-back guarantee. So if you want to RX all of CrossFit skills, learn how to weight lift, get better at your mobility, double unders, anything imaginable when it comes to the CrossFit gym skills, then join WODprep Academy today. Just go to wodprep.com/academy to learn more and start leveling up your performance. Okay, the unconventional way to train for the CrossFit Open is doing workouts that increase in both skill and load. This isn't a very common thing programmed in most CrossFit gyms. However, inside of WODprep programming, and as we've seen in the Open in the past, it's very common. So I don't see it programmed much at local affiliates, but I do see it in the CrossFit Open, and we also like to practice it here at WODprep in our programming. And that is, as the workout gets longer, the movements get harder. That might look something like this. First round, you have something like chest to bar pull-ups and double unders. Second round, you have bar muscle ups and single crossovers. Third round, you have pullovers and double under crossovers, something like that. That would be hypothetical. Or if you're trying to maybe practice a workout that's already been done, we think that 23.3, open workout 23.3, which you can see here on the screen, is a very high potential workout that could be repeated because it follows this pattern. The handstand variety gets harder, right? It goes from wall walks to normal handstand push-ups to strict handstand push-ups. You can see the handstand part gets harder. You can also see how the snatch gets harder. The snatch starts out at one weight and it gets heavier and heavier as each round goes on. So that kind of leveled approach to training is something that I would highly suggest practicing. And if you haven't yet, make sure you practice and redo 23.3. And there are a couple other workouts. And we'll make sure to link to the blog post below where we talk about a few workouts that you should probably practice that could also be repeats. But if you're going to practice one, I think 23.3, make sure that you can get that barbell over your head. Make sure you can do the harder version of the handstand, and you will be set up for success in the Open. And that brings me to my final point, and this is another thing that a lot of affiliates don't program, but again, we do program it inside of WODprep programming, and we've seen it multiple times in the CrossFit Open, and that is maximal lifts at the end of a workout. Traditionally, in a lot of CrossFit gym programming, we see some sort of strength and then a Metcon, right? It's always strength, Metcon, maybe warm up, strength, Metcon. You see that happen all the time, and it's how I normally used to write my programming. However, we've seen so many times in CrossFit where the weight gets heavier as the workout goes on, or you have a maximal lift attempt that needs to occur right after a Metcon. This is why you should be practicing a max snatch after a Metcon, or a max clean and jerk after a Metcon, or a max barbell complex of some kind after a Metcon. Because if you're only used to lifting really heavy weights before you're exhausted, then chances are when you get to that heavy barbell at the end of an open workout where you need to hit a true 1 rep max for the day, you're probably going to hurt. Not get hurt, you might get hurt, who knows, but you're probably not going to feel that good. So again, if you are not used to lifting heavy at the end of workouts, right after you've come off a really hard Metcon, then it's going to be a shock to your system when in the Open that's programmed. The reason they do that, the reason they've shifted to doing heavy lifting after a Metcon is because a lot of people would just game the system. If the heavy lift came before, a lot of people would be like, they try to hit a heavy lift. If they didn't hit the number they wanted, they would just restart the clock, hit it again, restart the clock, hit it again, and then restart the clock, hit it, and then start their workout. So what they do to help prevent that gamification where people are trying to cheat the system almost is they force you to do the full Metcon, which is expensive. It takes a lot of energy. It makes you exhausted. They force you to do the whole Metcon prior to hitting that 1 RM attempt. So if you're not practicing it, please do me a favor and practice it. Hopefully these tips help you prepare more for the CrossFit Open. I want to hear, what are your predictions for the CrossFit Open this year? Or what's one thing you're pulling from this video that you're going to apply to your training? Leave a comment below. If you want to follow programming that is specifically designed to help you prepare for and crush the CrossFit Open, then I highly suggest join WODprep programming. It's one of the most affordable programs in the market, and it is packed with more value than pretty much all of them combined. And that's because you get direct access to coaches like me and my head coach CJ and my whole team to help you get your best scores possible during the Open and also leading up to the Open. We help you prepare mentally, physically, and get ready to get your best score. And then during the actual Open, we have so much extra content that we release inside of WODprep programming to help you redo workouts, to help you strategize. We analyze your videos. There's so much of that and more inside of WODprep programming. So if you want to try it for yourself, just go to wodprep.com/train. You can cancel anytime. And even if you just join for the month of the Open, I assure you it will be the best training investment you've ever made. So go to wodprep.com/train if you want to hop into our awesome programming, or even if you just want access to our coaching during the Open. It's going to be a great choice for you. And I will see you on the leaderboard. Did you know that if you hit the subscribe button, you could win $10 billion? No, I'm just kidding. That's a complete lie. But I would really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. Maybe even gave me a thumbs up, because that helps WODprep get more views on this channel. Thank you so much. Smash the subscribe button, thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video.